Hi everybody, this is Lara at pureelliottwave.com. I'm going to be presenting as part of this FX Traders Edge Elliott Wave forecasting event on the 17th of August. I'm putting a link in the description box for this video. Please click on the link and go on through to this page and register for this event. You'll be giving me a lot of support by doing that. So that's what I get your support, but you get a whole bunch of free stuff. You get an hour's access to my analysis. I'll be covering Bitcoin and the S&P 500 live with you. And if I have time, I'll also cover NASDAQ. But wait, there's more. If you register for this event, you'll also have an exclusive offer to sign up for a free month of my Pure Elliott Wave Weekly on my website, pureelliottwave.com. That's once a week analysis of Bitcoin and the S&P 500 and gold and US oil for a whole month free. But wait, there's even more. If you register for this event, you're also going to get the opportunity to sign up and get a free copy of my ebook, Pure Elliott Wave. The rules in my book, which took me years to write, the rules are exactly the same as Frost & Preachter's classic Elliott Wave principle, but I've written it to try and be as clear and concise as possible. But wait, there's more. You'll also go in a draw to win one free lifetime access to my online course, Learn Pure Elliott Wave, which is normally priced at $395. Not only am I a CMT, Chartered Market Technician, and not only do I have over a decade of experience, I've been analysing markets since 2008, I'm also a trained, professionally qualified New Zealand secondary school teacher. I used to teach high school science, biology and geography. So coming from that angle, I've created some totally unique learning exercises as part of this course. If you're a kinesthetic learner, you'll learn by doing, and I find those learners the hardest to reach. So I've got some truly unique learning exercises to teach you Elliott Wave structures. There's 20 lessons. Most of them have quizzes or further reading, and as part of your access to the course, you'll have me supporting you via email to help you with your learning Elliott Wave. So there's a whole bunch of really good reasons for you to click on this link and register with FX Traders Edge, and if you do so, you'll be giving me a lot of support, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you. Hello everybody, this is Lara with an updated analysis of Ethereum for you on 7th of August 2022. My last analysis, 20th of June, had a main wave count which expected upward movement, and that last analysis I had a little bit more confidence that a sustainable low may be in place, and I gave you a channel and a price point to look at to add further confidence in that view. The channel has been breached to the upside, and a new price point above 1746.5098 also adds further confidence to the view of a sustainable low. I have a new final price point, 3573.96. If we see a new high above that point, we can have some very strong confidence that Ethereum has formed a sustainable low, and a potential target for a primary degree third wave up is 54,226. If that target is wrong, it will not be high enough. Cryptocurrencies tend to blow all my targets out of the water, but I still want to have a go at trying to calculate them for Ethereum anyway. At the monthly chart level, this is the entire price history of Ethereum, and I begin my wave count down here. From this low to this high, this upward movement subdivides beautifully as a 5-wave impulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, a double zigzag, a 0.74 correction of 1. 4, a triangle with the deepest portion, a 0.68 correction of 3. And 5, longer than 3, longer than 1, and 81.51 points longer than 2.618, the length of 3. This is a strong semi or logarithmic scale, and so it doesn't look like it, but in terms of price distance travelled, 5 is a lot longer than 3 and 1. I put some ratios here on the chart so that I can look back at past behaviour to try and use those numbers and calculate future targets. Here, primary 3 is 19.36 times the length of primary wave 1. That's not a Fibonacci ratio. Within primary 3, intermediate 3 is 18.24 times the length of intermediate 1, not a Fibonacci ratio, and intermediate 5 is 7.68 times the length of intermediate 1, also not a Fibonacci, that should be 7.68 times the length of intermediate 3. That's not a Fibonacci ratio. I'm just noting the lengths of the waves on this chart for future reference. There is a Fibonacci ratio between 5 and 3 of 2.618. Cycle wave 2 lasted about a year, and it's a 0.94 pullback or correction of cycle wave 1. This is a huge bear market, a 94% reduction in value. If cycle 2 is over there, then cycle 3 has begun, and it may only subdivide as an impulse, which must meet all Elliott Wave rules. At this stage, I think the best way to label the first portion of it is a complete primary wave 1 and now a complete primary wave 2. Primary 2 is a 0.83 or 83% correction of primary 1. That's not reduction in market value, that's a correction of the wave it's correcting. It's still a very deep bear market, and it lasted several months. If it continues any lower, it may not move beyond the start of 1, below 82.8299. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. I've got two different wave counts for this movement. This low here, the end of cycle 2, is this low here on the weekly chart. This is my first main wave count. It sees primary 1 and 2 over. Primary 1, an impulse, primary 2, a double zigzag. The impulse has a really good look, and the fourth wave within it is more brief than the second wave. That is absolutely normal, very common for commodities and especially cryptocurrencies, which tend to behave like extreme commodities. I've noted some ratios on this chart. Ethereum, unusually in the world of cryptocurrencies, does sometimes exhibit Fibonacci ratios. They tend to be rather extreme commonly, not always, but the fact that it does exhibit Fibonacci ratios is useful for future target calculation. Within primary wave 1, intermediate 3 is 15.32 times the length of intermediate 1. That's not a Fibonacci ratio. I just want to note on the chart how long this third wave is in relation to its first wave. This is a very extremely long third wave. That's, again, a feature typical of cryptocurrencies. Within intermediate 3, minor wave 3 is 57.97 longer than 4.236 the length of minor 1. That is a Fibonacci ratio, a fairly extreme one. And minor wave 5 is 281 longer than 1.618 the length of minor wave 3. Again, it doesn't look like it because of the scale, but in terms of price, distance travelled and potential profit, 5 is a lot longer than 3. Intermediate 5 is 94.78 longer than 11.09 times the length of intermediate wave 1. This is a very long fifth wave indeed, and that is an extreme Fibonacci ratio. Intermediate 2 has very good subdivisions as a double zigzag, and it looks like a normal zigzag. The first zigzag in the double is labelled intermediate wave W. The double is joined by a 3 in the opposite direction labelled X, and the second zigzag in the double deepens the correction, moving well below the end of intermediate W, giving the whole structure a strong counter-trend slope. That is exactly what a double zigzag should look like. They should not be sideways consolidations, they are sharp bounces or pullbacks. Primary 2 is most likely over here, but I do have an alternate allowing it could move lower. The other thing to note on the weekly chart is if it's over here, it looks like it has good proportions within W and Y. Let's take a look now. Before we go there, possible target for primary 3, I'm using an extreme Fibonacci ratio. Primary 3 will reach 11.09 times the length of primary 1 at 54.226. Note though, the length of intermediate 3 to intermediate 1 was a lot longer than 11.09, and previous third waves for Ethereum have been longer than 11.09, so I expect this target is conservative, and if it's wrong, it's probably going to not be high enough. Okay, let's take a look at the first daily chart where this high of X within the double zigzag is this point up here. We're looking at the second zigzag labelled Y. A, B, C has a perfect fit, and it has reasonable proportions. B is brief and shallow, that's okay. B waves don't have to be deep, they don't have to be time consuming. Of all of the waves, it is B waves which exhibit the greatest variety in Elliott Wave structure and price behaviour. You have to be really flexible with B waves. They are the worst, most difficult waves to analyse. It looks most likely, according to classic technical analysis as well, that primary 2 is over here. This wave count has the most support from my classic analysis charts. From this low to this high, I can't yet see a complete 5-wave impulse. I'm going to label this an incomplete impulse for intermediate wave 1, with minor 1 over here, minor 2 an expanded flat, minor 3 over here is 8.03 longer than 2.618, the length of minor wave 1. Minor 4 a zigzag, alternation between 2 and 4, a zigzag and an expanded flat. Minor 5 would reach equality in length with minor 1 at 1857.17. If that target is wrong, it may not be high enough. Ethereum's fifth waves can be extended. Minor wave 1 was not extended. Minor 3 is extended. It is possible minor 5 could also be extended. Use Elliott's channel to indicate where minor 5 may end. Draw it from 1 to 3, place a copy on 2. It contains almost all of this movement, with the exception of this throwover for the end of minute 2. Minor 5 may end either midway in the channel or more likely about the upper edge. If it does that, then the target won't be high enough. When the channel is breached by subsequent downward movement, then it can be used to indicate a trend change from up to down, from bull to bear, the end of 1 and the start, or by then 2 would be underway. At that point, I'd draw a Fibonacci retracement along the length of 1, and I'd expect 2 to reach at least the 0.618 Fibonacci ratio of 1. Intermediate 2 may not move beyond the start of 1, below 896.109. Intermediate 2 would be expected to last a few weeks, and it will most likely be very deep. If the target of the 0.618 ratio is wrong, it will not be low enough. Ethereum's large degree second waves, very much like pretty much every other cryptocurrency, tend to be much deeper. At the daily chart level, it's possible though that only A of intermediate Y was over here, but when you look at this at the weekly chart level, it doesn't have such a good look. If A is over here, B could be over here, and C could be underway. A target is for C to reach 0.618, the length of A, at 120. Primary 2 may not move beyond the start of 1, below 82.8299. If intermediate Y is an incomplete zigzag, minor B within it could move higher, and if minor B does move higher, it may not move beyond the start of minor A above 3573.96. This wave count is judged to have a lower probability than the main wave count, therefore it is labelled an alternate. Even if it's wrong, it's going to be useful, because if it's invalidated, a new high above this point adds confidence to the main wave count. So that's another way you can use alternate Elliott wave counts. It's always important to not get stuck on one wave count though, to always consider alternates and be open to different possibilities and not get fixated on one. With that in mind, I also have this other alternate at the weekly chart level. My main wave count sees primary wave 1 over here, but what if primary wave 1 was over back here and primary 3 is complete, cycle 3 has primary 1, 2, 3 and 4, and it's setting up for a really long, strong, extended primary wave 5. Ethereum tends to exhibit, typical of cryptocurrencies, strong, long, extended fifth waves, and that tendency is especially especially true for fifth waves to end third wave impulses 1 degree higher. So whether the first wave count is correct or this alternate is correct, eventually when we get into primary 5 to end cycle 3, I'm going to expect primary 5 to be a long, strong extension, the strongest and probably the longest portion of cycle 3, ending with a huge vertical spike and a huge blow off top at a really high target. Not there yet though. If this wave count is correct, then we would see a zigzag for primary 2, an expanded flat for primary 4. There's alternation between these two. Primary 5 beginning here would reach equality in length with 3 at 5210. Primary 4, if it continues further, may not move into wave 1 price territory below 361.3987. Okay, classic analysis. At this low for Ethereum at the weekly chart level, there's no bullish candlestick pattern, but there is this bullish long lower wick, a little bit of sideways movement, and our price is starting to move up and away, another bullish long lower wick, and volume has some push 2 weeks in a row here. Volume is pushing price higher. This is the last completed week. This is just one session, so we can't read anything in this candlestick or this volume bar. This is an incomplete week. This is the last complete week, shows a little decline in volume, but overall it's still higher than this week, and overall volume is now starting to push price higher. Resistance at 1700 was overcome, and now I would expect that to provide support. Really strong resistance ahead at 4380. On balance, volume broke below support. Price moved lower following that bearish signal. That bearish signal is now probably resolved. On balance volume is now at resistance, which was previous support, but it was weakened with this breach, so this isn't particularly strong resistance. I would expect if on balance volume breaks above this, we'll see an increase in upward momentum from price, but we could see a pullback here. We could see the end of intermediate 1 and the start of intermediate 2 coming sooner rather than later as on balance volume finds resistance here. RSI neutral territory, as is money flow index. ADX declining, indicating no clear trend after indicating the prior downward trend. There hasn't yet been a crossover of the DX lines at this time frame. So ADX is just neutral. Stochastics neutral after reaching oversold. With ADX indicating no clear trend, look for the upward swing to continue to resistance, maybe about 2,500 next resistance, and stochastics to reach overbought, but don't expect price to move in a straight line. If it's in a new trend even, it'll still have pullbacks along the way. ATR declining as price falls and continuing to decline as price rises is absolutely normal behaviour. If there's been a trend change, these cryptocurrencies do tend to move slowly off their sustained lows as they form slow curving rounded bottoms. At the daily chart level, we're seeing upward movement here off the slow, which has a strong bullish engulfing candlestick pattern. It lacked support from volume though. That's slightly concerning for bulls, but when we look at prior sustained lows, if there is a bullish candlestick pattern, it doesn't always have support from volume, and price can start up off lows, previous sustained lows, quite slowly with a bearish volume profile for the early days. That's what we saw here. Price is moving higher, volume is declining. Overall, on upward movement from this session to this session, the upward sessions show declining volume. And then price fell with an increase in volume. So up to this point at least, the volume profile up to here is bearish. And then it switches. We see price moving higher with some increase in volume. We still see downward movement with an increase in volume, but now we see another bullish engulfing candlestick pattern here, which does have support from volume. Price now moves higher, initially a decline, but then on this session here, a strong push from volume pushing price higher. Price moving sideways and lower, volume declining. Price moving higher, volume increasing. Price moving slowly lower, volume declining. Price moving a little higher, volume increasing. Not only is volume now increasing with upward movement, ATR is increasing as price moves higher, and now ATR is declining as price moves sideways and a little bit lower. Both the volume and the range profile are at this point from here are now reading overall bullish, and that supports the main Elliott Wave count. No signal from on balance volume at the daily chart level. ADX declining at the daily chart level, no clear trend. RSI neutral, money flow index neutral, stochastics entering overbought, and we've been over ATR. That's all from me with your updated Ethereum analysis. I hope that everyone's having an awesome weekend.